We are witnessing the rise of fake guru culture. Scammer culture is only going to increase as the economy gets worse because people are going to start to be easily preyed upon based on their economic circumstances. MLMs, get rich quick schemes, make money online tactics from people who are predatory and scammers is going to start to pop up. And we're seeing a counter trend to the fake guru culture, which is like guru exposing culture. I mean, there are some huge accounts like, CoffeeZilla, for example. And if you don't know who that is, CoffeeZilla's entire account is based on exposing people. And so many subsequent accounts have come from that. Like I know Spencer Cornelia is another guy on YouTube, but there's also people on TikTok that are doing the same thing. This is a very high performing strategy that I actually might even start implementing myself. And if you were one of my clients and you were running something that had to do in the online space with particularly like young men, then you would do the counter culture or counter anti-guru narrative, right? So a lot of people are starting to showcase and position themselves as anti-gurus because of the fact that we see so many fake gurus. And based on where we are in the economy right now, I do think that this is going to continue to become a trend where people still position themselves as anti-gurus, even the gurus. It's so funny. I'll see someone who's clearly a fake guru start to say all of these fake gurus and try to like do the anti-guru marketing, but you can still tell they're a fake guru. It's just fucking hilarious. But, some of the data behind why I think we're going to start to see this take place actually has to do with the FTC's overall, fraud report or fraud losses report. That went up from 2023 to 2024, up 25%. So we're looking at like $12.5 billion that was lost to fraud alone. So if you're running an online business, you have to understand that people are so scared, right? So people are afraid, which is why it's very important to run a hybrid content system, which is organic content in combination with paid content. And that can definitely allow you to have healthy return on ad spends or an ROI for simplistic language, for you to see a audience and your audience to see you and not have to spend money with Meta, Facebook, Google, any of that bullshit, and then only spend money with the people who are the most likely to engage with your direct response offer, your VSL, your landing page, set up all the segmentation. But the future of content creation is going to be a hybrid funnel. You post organic content and then you spend on retargeting, because now the platforms, right? There was a study that came out that the engagement rates on Meta and TikTok are absolutely dead. Instagram's engagement rates are fucking dying. You could have 1 million followers and your engagement rate is 2%. On TikTok, it's like 5%. Like these platforms, they want you to pay to play. So if you're a smart entrepreneur or a business owner, you need to post organic content, have a content strategist like myself or someone that knows how to get organic views, and then funnel those people into lead magnets, value-based assets, landing pages, VSLs, and then retarget the people that interact. So you only spend what you need to really convert the highest likelihood of people who already know you. And that's more of like a value-based warm lead funnel. You can still do direct response, that still works, but your offer, your niche, everything needs to be kind of aligned for a direct response funnel to work. But the people I've personally worked with that have seen the highest return on ad spends, 20K a month with less than 5,000 followers, 6-figure months, they're using retargeting funnels. They're using funnels that have a warm audience and then paid ads to combine the two. And that is what allows you to succeed. So in short, with this scammer era that we're in, more people are skeptical than ever before. And there are now content creators and accounts that are strictly here to expose scammers, to make fun of them in a humorous way. I think there's a guy named Ginger or Cookie, whatever, on TikTok, and he's doing pretty good, all because he's exposing the extremism that these scammers or whatever do. And it's a very, very, very good tactic because a lot of people have an emotional tie to scammers. So when you talk about scammers like Grant Cardone or you stitch these people, it's very emotional because the average person hates these people or loves these people. And as media literacy throughout the internet starts to rise, more and more people are going to start to enjoy people like CoffeeZilla, exposing accounts like myself. Once I start really building out this funnel on how I can break down, a lot of these scammers, most people are going to want to see that and trust you over the guru who's pretending to be this alpha male guru. When you could expose this guru, people automatically view you as a like an authority figure, and it's called the anti-guru position. And even if you run meta ads, this is very powerful. This is how I helped one of my clients scale from 20K to 20K a month with less than 5,000 followers, because we run an organic and paid strategy. Because in his market, in the real estate market, there were people who were spending a shit ton of money on lifestyle. And it was still profitable because they are at the peak of the market. They're the 1% of the 1%. They have the influencers, whatever. But if you're a smaller fish trying to enter that real estate course market, you need to counter position. In order to get a segment of the market that trusts you and wants to give you money, you need to be the type of person who shows that you're a family man, but you still prove that your methodology, the BRRRR method, whatever the fuck you're selling as a real estate agent, this is just an example, is still, functioning. It still has results, meaning that you could showcase your lifestyle. Like, for example, I'm on the beach, I travel, I work remote. So what I talk about works to an extent. If I had a Rolex, I would show the Rolex, but not in that way, but I would just show it in a more human way. Like, hey, I take care of my family. I take my family to Disney whenever I want. So human-based flexing, down-to-earth flexing, is still flexing because it showcases that you're an expert in your field. You know how to sell a real estate course or a credit repair course. You know how to sell your information, but you're not doing it in a scammy way. You're not like you basically prove to the audience that you're an authority figure without showing that you're a scammer by saying, hey, I sent my mom $1,000. That's not, too scammy. I sent my parents $10,000, right? That's social proof. But it's not some scammy bullshit social proof where you're like, I just spent $10,000 on a Rolex. Like, that's just, you're showing more of your values and your beliefs, and that can counter position someone who's just materialistic, and you can attract that segment of the market all by showcasing and flexing in a manner that's aligned with your belief systems, like spending $10,000 to take your family on vacation on the beach or at Disneyland, right? That's a completely different segment of the market that you're going to attract. You're going to have better clients, less churn rate, all that bullshit by doing that. So another thing that we're going to talk about is, like, for example, the Honey and the PayPal scandal. So we started to see large companies get exposed for these fraudulent behavior, where they start to do these shady tactics behind doors. A lot of YouTubers were promoting Honey, and behind closed doors, these companies, in order to make all this money, they're using these shady growth hack tactics, which at the expense of your data. So many people feel like they were basically being tracked unnecessarily, and this is why Apple came out with this update. But you have to realize that these companies, they're trying to grow as much as possible, right? And people are literally now, there's a class action lawsuit against Honey. But the way that they were running their business model is to hijack trust. They're trying to hijack these large influencers and creators, and you're starting to see it now. There's an epidemic of undisclosed ads. And I truly believe, again, in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see regulatory scrutiny, depending on whether or not the legislation and the political landscape changes. But if we do get some new legislation, I believe we're going to start to see that change, right? And I think this is just something that we are evolving as a society and species to become more aware of. And I think what's going to happen is we're going to develop a decentralized way to tell whether or not it's an undisclosed ad. So you can already see in the TikTok comment section, people will say, hey, this is an undisclosed ad. And all of the comments will be filled with, hey, this is an ad, this is an ad. Everybody report this. Because people are going to start to recognize, like, hey, you're bullshitting, this is fake as fuck. Just run an ad and stop trying to trick us like we're idiots. And more people are going to start to become media aware in that sense. So what we're starting to see, just to summarize the future of 2026 when it comes to fake gurus, is that more and more companies are being sued for fraudulent activities, fraudulent promotions. These influencers and creators are going to get sued, and there's going to be regulatory scrutiny around the bullshit that they promote, because most people, again, are starting to wake up around how fraudulent this is. And another component of that is going to be anti-guru culture. So this has already been a trend, but I think it's going to continue to persist in 2026. Anti-guru culture is going to be one of the fastest ways for you to establish yourself as an authority figure because you now differentiate yourself from all of the smoke and mirrors. If you start to talk about how gurus are full of shit, people subconsciously just think that you're not a guru. Even though you are a guru, you're just not a traditional guru. So that's one of the things that you can do as well. And I believe that just long term, we're going to start to see more media literacy across the board, and people are going to start to wake up. So make sure you guys like and follow for more. Peace out.